The impossible assignment. The lecture hall at the Galactic Institute of Advanced Quantum Studies was an architectural marvel. A dome of shimmering starlight suspended in anti-gravity, its structure pulsing faintly with the energy of 1,000 contained singularities. Among the gathered intellectual elites of the universe, representing over a dozen alien species, only one human sat at the very back of the hall. Emery Thompson, a young Earth scientist with wild auburn curls and an ever-present smirk, leaned back in her seat, twirling a stylus between her fingers. The other students, a mix of reptilian, cephalopodic, crystalline, and cybernetic beings, were listening with grave attention as Professor Zil Teknar, a towering multi-eyed insectoid from the Typhorian Collective, adjusted the projection display to reveal a swirling mass of numbers, symbols, and shifting probability clouds. Class, the professor's voice clicked through a complex series of vocalized frequencies, instantly translated into a dozen languages. Theoretical physics has long struggled to map the fundamental forces that govern reality. Your assignment, if you are bold enough to attempt it, is to convert the multidimensional quantum probability matrix into a simplified decision tree model that maintains a minimum of 97% accuracy across all known variables. This problem has remained unsolved for over a century. A murmur rippled through the lecture hall. Some students exchanged wary glances, their nervous system bioluminescence flickering in colors of deep uncertainty. A four-armed Arcanian scholar from the outer rim let out a low whistle. 100 years and no solution. That's impossible. Professor Zil Teknar narrowed his 6 glowing eyes. Indeed. You will have 1 week. Use it wisely. The murmurs grew louder, but they were abruptly interrupted by a casual voice from the back of the hall. Done. Every eye, antenna, and sensor in the room swiveled to Emery Thompson. The professor's chromatophores flickered between confusion and irritation. Excuse me. Emery grinned and spun her tablet lazily in her hands. Yeah, I got it. I converted the quantum probability matrix into a decision tree. Want me to send it to you? The silence was deafening. Even the usually unreadable Crixithian thought-weavers, whose minds existed in 5 dimensions at once, tilted their elongated heads in disbelief. A chrysolite scholar made a chittering sound that the universal translator interpreted as, "That's not how any of this works." Professor Zil Teknar's breathing sacs inflated in sheer disbelief. Miss Thompson, you are telling me that in the span of 3 minutes, you have solved a problem that has stumped the greatest minds of the known universe. Emery shrugged. I mean, yeah. The professor extended a clawed limb and tapped into his holo display, receiving the file from her tablet. His many eyes scanned the data rapidly, processing calculations at a speed rivaling quantum computers. His exoskeletal fingers twitched. His mandibles stopped moving. Finally, he spoke. His voice was a mixture of incredulity and academic distress. This is 99.2% accurate. A shockwave passed through the hall. Several students gasped. Others recoiled as if someone had just suggested breaking the fundamental laws of physics on a casual whim. How? Demanded a crystalline life form, its body refracting light in disjointed pulses of disbelief. How could you possibly process the infinite quantum variables in mere moments? Emery cracked her knuckles and leaned forward, grinning like she had just found a new way to cheat the universe. Oh, I didn't process all of them. That would be stupid. The professor's mandibles clicked furiously. Then how? Emery tapped the side of her head. Vibes. There was an audible pause. I'm sorry, said a deep, guttural voice from the back of the room. Did she just say she solved a century-old quantum problem using vibes? Professor Zil Teknar's exoskeleton visibly paled. You cannot seriously be suggesting that you bypassed computational modeling and quantum algorithms using intuitive decision-making. Emery's grin widened. Yeah, that's pretty much exactly what I'm saying. Chaos erupted. The students, most of whom had spent decades perfecting complex mathematical models to tackle quantum uncertainty, were not taking this well. One of the Arkson students, a species known for their cold logic and ruthless efficiency, had started emitting a high-pitched keening sound that the universal translator refused to process. "Miss Thompson," Professor Zil Teknar said carefully, "I need to understand this. Are you suggesting that human intuition is capable of making precise quantum calculations, something that even advanced AIs struggle with?" Emery shrugged. "Pretty much. See, humans have been making snap decisions based on incomplete information since we were living in caves. We had to decide, is that rustling in the bushes just the wind, or is it something that wants to eat me?" She leaned forward, speaking with the confidence of someone who had broken reality and liked it. "That's what quantum uncertainty is, Professor. It's one giant game of is it safe, or am I about to get eaten? Our brains evolved to be insanely good at making high-stakes probability judgments on instinct. We're quantum computers running on caffeine and spite." Silence. The professor scanned through the data again, his eyes twitching as he cross-checked her results with his own calculations. He found no flaws. "This," his voice faltered, "this is terrifying." Emery beamed. "Yeah, but also kind of fun, right?" In that moment, the entire academic hierarchy of the universe was shaken. For centuries, scholars had treated human intuition as a primitive tool, useful for survival, perhaps, but irrelevant in the grand pursuit of pure logic. But now, a human had just solved a quantum mystery using what was effectively a glorified gut feeling. And worse, she was right. Before the stunned audience could recover, a notification flashed across the holodisplays of every professor in the Galactic Institute. Dore King Enidoius. The Galactic Journal of Quantum Mathematics has fast-tracked a human research paper titled "The Playground Theory of Quantum Probability: How Children's Games Explain the Fabric of Reality." Professor Zil Teknar collapsed into his chair, his breathing sacs deflating completely. "Oh no," he whispered, "it's happening again." Emery leaned back in her chair, folding her arms behind her head as she watched the scientific community implode around her. She had a bad habit of breaking physics. And she wasn't done yet. When reality glitches, humans laugh. Professor Zil Teknar had encountered many challenges in his academic career. He had debated cosmic philosophers, outmaneuvered hyper-intelligent AIs, and once survived a four-dimensional thought experiment that nearly collapsed his neural lattice. But nothing had prepared him for Emery Thompson. The moment her absurdly simple yet terrifyingly effective method hit the research networks, the entire academic world lost its collective mind. Within minutes, his holo terminal was bombarded with urgent messages. "URGNT. Professor, is it true that a human solved the probability matrix using vibes? CONFIRMED. Emery Thompson's method exceeds computational accuracy. She guessed. CRISIs. The Quantum Mathematics Board is in a state of existential breakdown. The Aryans are chanting in binary." Zil Teknar rubbed his four temples simultaneously. This wasn't happening. It couldn't be happening. And yet, a notification blinked in the air. Emery's paper had been fast-tracked for peer review. Fast-tracked. He knew for a fact that the last time a research paper had been fast-tracked, it had involved redefining the nature of dark energy, and had taken 30 years to verify. Emery had done it in an afternoon, and was now eating a granola bar like she hadn't just punched quantum physics in the face. Zil Teknar turned to her slowly, his exoskeletal plates clicking into place as he tried, and failed, to remain calm. "Miss Thompson," he said in a voice that barely concealed his A chrysolite scholar made a horrified hissing noise. "That's not how quantum mechanics works." "It is now," Emery said cheerfully. Professor Zil Teknar stared at her, processing the sheer catastrophic implications of what she had just said. And then, in an act that no scholar had ever dared attempt in a live lecture, he ran her calculations. His 6 glowing eyes widened in real time as the results emerged on the holo display. Her method wasn't just accurate, it was faster than any known computational model. "No," he whispered. This should not work." But it did. The entire class was now frozen in shock. The Arxon student, who had spent a decade mastering probability matrices, was visibly vibrating. A sentient AI unit in the front row had begun emitting warning beeps, its logic cores overwhelmed. And then, a new notification blinked across every screen. "Breaking news. The Galactic Probability Board has just recognized playground physics as a legitimate field of study. Breaking news. The Universal Journal of Theoretical Mathematics has published Thomson's work under quantum game theory. Breaking news. Aryan AI constructs are experiencing existential dread due to human vibe calculations." Zil-Teknar clutched his chest, his neural processors going into full meltdown mode. Emery leaned forward. "Sue, does that mean I get an A?" Zil-Teknar's exoskeleton darkened. "Miss Thomson, do you have any idea what you have done?" Emery smirked. "Oh yeah, I've single-handedly redefined how the universe approaches probability theory." She stood up, stretched, and casually tossed a small rubber ball into the air. It bounced once, then twice, then. Reality glitched. Every quantum system in the room flickered, as if uncertain of what had just happened. The probability field of the ball had momentarily entered superposition, bouncing in every possible location simultaneously before choosing a single outcome. The class gasped in horror. The ball landed back in Emery's palm. She smiled. "Yeah," she said, "that'll happen when you start playing games with reality." Zil-Teknar collapsed into his chair. The lecture hall had descended into madness. Scholars were frantically debating in hushed, horrified whispers. The Aryans had stopped blinking entirely. The AI had shut down. The universal translator had malfunctioned, too many languages screaming in sheer disbelief at the same time. The professor took a deep, shaky breath. This is dangerous." Emery's smile grew. "Well, yeah," she said, "but also super fun." The class stared at her. She grinned. And then, breaking news. Human researcher Emery Thomson has just submitted a paper entitled "The Floor is Lava: A Quantum Theory of Probability." Breaking news. The Galactic Science Board is now investigating the playground theories of Earth. Breaking news. Galactic mathematicians have discovered that hide and seek might explain quantum tunneling. Professor Zil-Teknar buried his face in his claws. "Miss Thomson," he rasped, "I beg you, stop." But it was too late. Because somewhere in the universe, in the vast, infinite chaos of probability and cosmic uncertainty, reality had just learned a new game. And it wanted to play. The floor is lava. Literally. The Galactic Institute of Advanced Quantum Studies was in full-scale meltdown. Emery Thomson leaned back in her seat, sipping a cup of synthetic caffeine that she had somehow smuggled into the lecture hall. Around her, the brightest minds in the universe were losing their collective sanity over her latest discovery. Breaking news. Earth's playground physics is now being investigated by the Quantum Mathematics Board. Breaking news. Theories suggest that TAG may hold the key to FTL travel. Breaking news. The Galactic Science Council has banned all further human scientific theories until they can figure out what's happening. The Arxon student who had been keening since the start of the lecture had officially passed out. The sentient AI units in the room had entered self-repair mode. A chrysolite mathematician was currently weeping into its own crystalline hands, repeating something about how reality was a lie. Professor Zil-Teknar, his exoskeleton noticeably duller than before, was breathing in short, frantic gasps. "Miss Thomson," he said in a tone of academic desperation, I must insist that you cease all further reality-altering discoveries. Emery raised an eyebrow. But Professor, she said, grinning, I haven't even shown you my best theory yet. A collective groan rippled through the lecture hall. Zil-Teknar rubbed his four temples. Miss Thompson, I cannot stress enough how dangerous your ideas are. Emery shrugged. I mean, sure, if you don't like having fun. A small, nervous voice spoke up from the front row. It belonged to Kelvex, a Sci-Fi scholar with 8 delicate fingers, and the kind of intense academic discipline that made most students cry during exams. Miss Thompson, Kelvex asked hesitantly, what exactly is your next theory? Emery grinned. The floor, she said, is lava. The entire room went silent. Professor Zil-Teknar visibly paled. Come again, he croaked. Emery leaned forward. You know the game kids play, where they pretend the floor is lava, and they have to jump between furniture to avoid touching the ground. Zil-Teknar nodded very slowly, as if bracing for an oncoming catastrophe. Emery clapped her hands together. Well, turns out I ran some numbers, and... She tapped on her holo tablet, and the lecture hall's central projection unit flickered to life. A massive hologram appeared, displaying an animated model of the universe's fundamental structure. Zil-Teknar studied it. At first, it looked normal. The usual quantum fields, energy states, gravity wells. Then he saw it. The gaps. Tiny, seemingly insignificant gaps between energy states, like invisible stepping stones separating each layer of reality. Kelvex gasped. By the first equations. Zil-Teknar's 6 eyes widened. Miss Thompson, what have you done? Emery grinned wider. Turns out, reality is structured exactly like the game, she said. There are gaps, safe zones, between each quantum state. If you step on the right ones, you can literally bypass physics. The room exploded into chaos. That's impossible, shrieked a reptilian scholar. This changes everything, gasped a sentient gas cloud. How can reality we do arcade like this? Sobbed the chrysolite mathematician. Zil-Teknar was frozen in existential dread. Miss Thompson, what are you suggesting? Emery smirked. I'm saying that if you know where to step, you can literally walk between quantum states. Zil-Teknar's claws clattered against the desk. You mean? Emery nodded. Yep, she said cheerfully. Quantum parkour. Duvar keying and audios. Human reassar still AMs that the floor is lava is a module for QUANTUBM locomotion. Varaking and audios. Experimental results as SHOWT live hopping allows PRTICLEs to bypass physical barriers. Varaking and audios. Quantum physics are no ATMPting to GMP between dimensions. Professor Zil-Teknar grabbed his own face. Miss Thompson, he said weakly, please tell me you have not tested this theory. Emery blinked. Oh, of course I did. The professor's exoskeleton dimmed further. Emery hopped onto her desk. Watch. Before anyone could stop her, she jumped and vanished. The room erupted in chaos. Where did she go? Is she dead? I can still hear her laughing. This is worse. A moment later, Emery reappeared, standing on top of a floating energy node in the middle of the lecture hall. She was standing on thin air. Everyone froze. Emery waved. Turns out, you just have to step in the right places, and you can totally ignore things like gravity and momentum. Zil-Teknar was visibly hyperventilating. This is a scientific catastrophe. Emery shrugged. Or, a really fun one. Varaking and Humans, heavy is UCC ist FULOI disco VEORED leva hopping, as a form of ANTE or DIMANSIONAL VL. Breaking any audios. Several SCHOLRs, AVGONE missing, FT or attempting to lava hop, without P or my session. Breaking any audios. The quantum mathematics board is ENT or ED a state of FUL blown panic. Professor Zilteknar, at last, could take no more. He collapsed into his chair, head in his claws. "Miss Thompson," he whispered, "if you do anything else, I beg you to." Before he could finish, a new notification blinked across the galactic network. Breaking any audios. Human research here enemy right pisan. Is just CVBMITEDAPAP or TLITOED. The UNTUMIMPLICATION of TAG. Faster than light TRIVLVIA children's games. Zilteknar let out a strangled, broken noise. Embry just winked. "Guess I'll see you all in the next dimension." And with that, she jumped and vanished into reality itself. Quantum tag and the accidental discovery of faster-than-light travel. Emery Thompson had officially left reality behind. One moment, she had been standing in the middle of a crowded lecture hall, surrounded by the greatest scientific minds of the galaxy, all of whom were either on the brink of existential crisis or actively screaming. The next, she had jumped. And now she was somewhere else. She drifted through a vast, endless kaleidoscope of shifting probabilities, quantum echoes, and fragmented universes that blinked in and out of existence like a cosmic flipbook. It was wildly disorienting. It was completely impossible. It was also really fun. "Holy crap," Emery muttered, flipping head over heels in zero gravity. "I think I just invented interdimensional parkour." Her voice echoed, vibrating across the quantum field. Somewhere in the swirling chaos, she could hear voices, distorted, distant, panicked. "Miss Thompson, where are you? Gee, back here, this instant. She is left the universe. I repeat, she is left the universe." Emery snickered. She had never seen scientists lose their minds this fast before. Then, with no warning whatsoever, reality snapped back, and she reappeared. Unfortunately, she was not alone. Meanwhile, in the lecture hall of existential dread, Professor Zilteknar was not okay. Ever since Emery Thompson had arrived at the Galactic Institute, his once peaceful academic life had turned into an ongoing interstellar crisis. Her first offense, using vibes to solve an unsolvable quantum problem. Her second offense, turning children's games into legitimate mathematical models. Her third offense, vanishing into the quantum fabric of the universe. And now, the worst had happened. She had come back. But she hadn't come back alone. With a blinding flash, Emery reappeared, grinning like she had just won a game no one else even knew they were playing. But floating directly behind her was something that should not exist. Something that made even the most hardened scholars of the quantum sciences recoil in horror. It was a cosmic anomaly. A sentient, hyperdimensional, probability-bending force of nature. And it looked pissed. Guys," Emery said, casually floating above the lecture hall. "I think I might. Wohue Arning. Unauthorized QUANTUM entity DTTTD. Warning. Unknown cosmic forces heavy BRECHE local reality. Warning. Immediate QANTANNT required." The lecture hall descended into full-blown chaos. "What did you bring, Baskik?" shrieked Kelvex, clutching onto his terminal in sheer existential horror. Zil Teknar's exoskeleton visibly dimmed. Miss Thompson, I swear to every known law of physics. The anomaly pulsed. Reality warped. And then, the worst possible thing happened. The anomaly wanted to play the Galactic Institute's first ever game of quantum tag. It started with a single movement, a ripple through space-time itself. The anomaly lunged forward, reaching out with a tendril of pure probability, aiming directly at Emery. Emery, to her credit, reacted instinctively. She dodged. And in doing so, she accidentally invented faster-than-light travel. One moment, she was floating in the air. The next, she was across the room, having somehow crossed the entire distance in a single step. Everyone froze. Breaking any audios. Human inventes instantaneous transportation via quantum tag. Breaking any audios. FTL trivial now possible through high-stakes game mechanics. Breaking any audios. Science is TANCLLED, then TLFURTER no TIC. Professor Zil Teknar let out a strangled noise. Miss Thompson, he croaked. Did you just? Yeah, Emery gasped, blinking at where she had just teleported. I think I just ran faster than light. The anomaly twitched. Then, without warning, it tagged an unsuspecting Arxon scholar in the back row. The student immediately disappeared, reappeared on the ceiling, and started screaming. The laws of HFY Sci-Fi, AAVBEENOVERIDDN, REALITYNOWFUNC under tagged rules. Highest level scientific authorities are having a BREKDBODOIN. Another student panicked, tried to run, and was instantly teleported onto the professor's desk. A third student flailed wildly, tripped, and accidentally phased through a solid wall. The anomaly pulsed again. It was having the time of its life. Emery grinned. Okay, she said, now this is getting interesting. Professor Zil Teknar looked like he wanted to crawl into a black hole and never return. Miss Thompson, he pleaded, fix this in a mini-diatly. Emery considered that. Then she looked at the galactic quantum anomaly, which was currently tagging scholars at random, rewriting the fundamental laws of space-time, and causing entire sections of the university to teleport at random. Yeah. No, Emery said, stretching. I think I'm gonna keep playing. And that's how the universe became a playground. Breaking any audios. Scientists are attempting to negotiate with a quantum entity way to end the game. Breaking any audios. Negotiations have failed because the anomaly is having too much fun. Breaking any audios. Scientists now attempting to end the game instead. The Galactic Science Board issued an emergency meeting. The Quantum Mathematics Board entered crisis mode. The Arxon Defense Force tried to contain the event, but were accidentally teleported onto a different planet. Meanwhile, Emery Thompson was having the time of her life. And somewhere, in the depths of reality itself, the universe watched. And it laughed. Because for the first time in eternity, it was finally having fun.